Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on July 18th, 2013. Now bear with me, this is my first review in quite some time for TNA Impact. Matter of fact, I haven't been watching over the last few months, but this was also built as the Destination X show for TNA Impact Wrestling. Obviously, since they're not doing it as a full-on pay-per-view, they made it into at least the 2-hour show. First of all, they decided to, you had the first segment of the night where you basically had Bully talking about his match with Chris Sabin, Chris Sabin for the World Heavyweight title. Obviously, Sabin was the one cashing in the X Division title to go after the world title, and honestly, the segment itself was really good with the aspect of him talking about Chris Sabin and his match. I really liked where they went with that. I didn't really care much for the aspect that they brought in Brooke Hogan and then Hulk Hogan a little bit later on into that segment. I feel like that segment made a downturn right at that point in time. Right after that, they did a Bound for Glory series match with Bobby Roode and Austin Aries. And typically when you're supposed to be focusing on the X Division with the Destination X, something like this would have actually kind of irked me a little bit about the show, kind of going away from the flow of the show. But the aspect that this was a rematch from last year's Destination X kind of pulled that into being completely different in that aspect. Also with the history of the X Division title and the X Division and Austin Aries in general actually helped out in that aspect as well. But just for the match itself, once again, between them two, great match. Just a lot of fun to watch between Austin Aries and Bobby Roode. Again, and I like where they're going with this aspect that Bobby Roode's considering the aspect that he's 0-3 in the Bound for Glory series before going 0-4 with this loss here. He's just calling that a fluke at this point, kind of like what he was doing with Austin Aries last year in their feud over the World Heavyweight title. He called the initial victory a fluke and called the second victory a fluke after that as well. So I like where they're going with that. We'll see see if they continue on with like Bobby Roode's losing streak, or does he break that losing streak somewhere in this Bound for Glory series over the next few weeks. So that was a nice little touch that they added into there as well. I liked, one thing I definitely liked were the X Division qualifying matches. Now granted, it would have been nice at at some point of the show that not just having the qualifying matches, but also eventually having that Ultimate X match would have been nice. Now granted, with only being 2 hours there, it's nice to also see that they decided not to rush that Ultimate X match and just wait for the next week in general. So, and I like the aspect of them doing 3 triple threat matches, one with the past, one with the present, and one with the future of the X Division. And all 3 of the matches I felt were really good matches, fun, fast-paced, good spots put into them, with everything that they were doing. So they were really fun, in my mind. They were really fun to watch. Sanjay Dutt winning the past of the X Division, Manic winning the present of the X Division, and then I know the first name's Greg, but I don't know how to pronounce the last name for the future of the X Division. He was Trent Beretta in the WWE, and now he's in TNA going with the X Division. The only thing that really seems a little bit weird, obviously, I did read up a few things that was happening over the last few months. The whole aspect where Austin Aries took over the Suicide character and then won the X Division title, and then the guy who was playing Suicide changed his name to Manic, and honestly, it felt a little weird. Basically, all they really did to change him over to Manic was instead of having the S, it's an M now. They didn't really change the costume. They didn't change anything like that. So a little lackluster on the change there over to a different character, but but obviously that was the route that they decided to go. The character itself is basically basically the same character as the Suicide character, just with a different name. At least in my mind in that aspect. Also, you had the segment with the main event mafia, the multiple segments really with the main event mafia and or should I say the new main event mafia and the aces and eights. First of all, the promo that they delivered in the ring was a pretty good promo in general. I felt it wasn't overly great, but it wasn't. It obviously wasn't bad. I felt it was relatively good. Obviously, the backstage segment leading up to Bully Ray capturing Kurt Angle and driving him off into the driving him off outside of the arena and everything, and obviously locking in the other Aces and Eights members that were attacking the other main event mafia members. First, one thing I do want to say. With the main event, with the new main event mafia, obviously there was 3 people that were from the original, which was Kurt Angle, Sting, and Samoa Joe. Obviously, they added Magnus and Rampage Jackson because Rampage Jackson is now with TNA and everything. Honestly, it seems like Magnus actually fits the bill for the main event mafia, even though he hasn't really been a main eventer at all yet. Even maybe here in the future he will be, but he seems to kind of fit that bill in there, at least how they made him look and everything in there. But Rampage Jackson, I guess it's just you have the 4 other guys in these 3-piece suits and shades and everything, and then you just have Rampage Jackson there with a chain on him, a t-shirt and jeans. It just seems like he's completely out of place inside the main event mafia, at least just in my own personal opinion. I don't know if that's what they were going for, or that's just the way he wants to be out there at that point, but to me it makes him look kind of out of place with the other 4 members there. And I mean, again, that's just my own personal opinion on that. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying he looks a little bit out of place. But continuing on with that, eventually this led to where you have Bully Ray and having another backstage segment talking to the person who was supposedly driving the truck, and then you see the truck pull back, telling them to drop off Kurt Angle in their designated spot, and then offer him some kind of offer he could not refuse. And then eventually you just see Kurt Angle reappear into the arena without that member of Aces and Eights or whoever Bully Ray was talking to. So obviously, you'd assume that he just escaped from the guy and then drove back to the arena. This basically brings to where I lost a little bit of cohesion where they were going with, and this leads into the main event match itself with Bully Ray and Chris Sabin. You had a decent start there, I felt, with Chris Sabin. Not a decent start, actually a really good start with Chris Sabin and Bully Ray. I liked how Bully Ray was trying to intimidate him right from the get-go, and then Chris Sabin, basically returns the favor and tries to intimidate Bully Ray, and then you have the trading of the kicks and the chops. I really liked where they were going with that, and obviously, they were trying to work over the knee injury angle from, or do the angle where you would have Bully Ray going after Chris Sabin's knee during the entire thing, which eventually you see the Aces and Eights members come out, and you almost want to assume that they won their battle with the main event mafia backstage, but no, you get literally just a few seconds later, the main event mafia coming back out there, and the only thing that really doesn't work in any kind of cohesion, you were supposed to be having a big brawl backstage between all of them, and no one seemed to be hurt, or you saw no physical repercussions from either side in this sense, because they just kind of all waltzed out there and lost a little bit of cohesion there. But that's all my own personal opinion on that. The actual main event match, after what I considered a great beginning to the match, was kind of ho-hum in my mind. It just really didn't. It didn't really build up. It just focused around Bully Ray going after Chris Sabin's knee and dominating the match in general, which I guess you would really consider with the aspect of the size and the weight difference there. You would have Bully Ray just working over the knee and just dominating the entire match. It just felt really slow. It felt a little disappointing in that sense. The ending to the match was kind of not all that great either. You kind of wanted Sabin to try to hit some kind of big move that would actually give him a clean victory versus reversing the powerbomb and using the hammer to actually win the title itself. Now, granted, it's great to see Sabin with the World Heavyweight title. I don't expect him to actually keep it all that long because I think they have bigger plans for the Aces and Eights and probably for Bound for Glory and everything coming here into the near future. But so I don't expect Sabin to actually keep the world title long. But it was nice to see, you know, he's had 10 years inside of the company. He's been working there since he was a rookie. It was good to see him actually win the World Heavyweight title in that sense. We'll see how long they'll actually keep that belt on him and see if they actually continue some kind of storyline with him and Bully Ray, or just him and Aces and Eights in general, or will he just be kind of like this extra piece to the Aces and Eights and new main event Mafia storyline, which eventually leads to, I guess, Bully Ray getting the world title back or something in that sense. So we'll see where they actually go with it. Overall, I felt the Destination X Impact Wrestling, Impact Wrestling show was overall really good. Like I said before, I'm glad they decided. It would have been nice if they could have gotten that Ultimate X match in there to decide a new X Division champion, but in the end, it's for the better that they didn't actually just rush that Ultimate X match to get one into this show and just waiting for it next week. So I'm actually kind of glad that they decided not to do that. I felt the main event started out really great. Afterwards, it was really slow. It seemed to be really slow. A little bit of a disappointment for the main event match and going into the world title, changing of the hands there at that point. But like I said, overall, I felt the show came off really good. You had the one little mishap in, losing the cohesion there because you're supposed to have that big brawl backstage, but everybody kind of just walked out there hunky-dory A-OK during the main event with the main event Mafia and the Aces and Eights. But yeah, overall I felt it was a really good show, and yeah, that's my review this week for TNA Impact Wrestling. I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.